kilogram open division with a 295 deadlift, Charles Wiener. Charles is starting to look like a bodybuilder now. All the medals that they win.
The age-old question, why do we do what we do? I was watching some YouTube videos and two stood out to me. Different ends of the spectrum. One had a very nihilistic view and one had a very optimistic view. But I don't really identify with either of them. Not completely. I suppose in a way we all go through periods where we're nihilistic, where we're depressed, where nothing seems to matter. And we all go through phases where we're completely elated, overjoyed. That's what life is, man. Life is ups and downs. The first video, the nihilistic one, it had a very grim view towards the sport of powerlifting or strength sports in general. It maintained the view that there's absolutely no point in participating if you can't be absolutely the best of the best. Unless you're a genetic outlier, a freak of nature, you'll never make any money, and it's a pointless waste of time where all you do is hurt yourself, damage your body. And, like say if you're like me and you use, we'll say, banned substances, all you do is harming yourself, and it's just totally pointless. It's a egotistical waste of time, and all you're trying to do is show off for YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's a lot of truth to that, and that's a very nihilistic way of looking at things. The other video, very optimistic, saying coming up in the sport, already making some money, monetized, gonna be a star, the sky's the limit. Awesome. That's another, it's the other end of the spectrum. Both have merit. They're both true at the same time, and they're both, I don't know, false at the same time. They don't resonate with me completely, and I'll tell you why. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have never made a single dime. I think I might have won a few $100 placing first at a couple of competitions. It's just enough to cover my expenses, so that's not nothing. I did actually have a sponsorship back in 2017. I was a sponsored lifter for Anarchy Lifting. I was natural, and that company, it was my first sponsorship. I was so excited. I still have the t-shirt. And he wound up selling the company, and there went my sponsorship. So that really didn't amount to much. I sought a couple different sponsors over the years. Iron Rebel actually answered my phone call, and then when I called them back to see what the deal was, they gave me a gift card. Their sponsorship was, I could be a sponsored athlete. Sounds great, right? Except for what it is you do profit sharing, so I'd have to sell you overly expensive booty shorts, and I get maybe $10 for every $60 pair of shorts you buy. Okay, is that a sponsorship? I guess. I don't know. I've never made any money doing the sport, so what am I doing? Like, I have obviously hurt myself a bunch of times, and I've recovered from all of them, and it's been, both awesome and a nightmare. I've definitely damaged my body. I've hurt my family relationships. When you're training for high-end competition, it's a super selfish thing, and it takes all of your time, and the family starts getting a little tired of it when you come home from work and you have to train every day, and the kids just want dad to play with them. I get it, man. It's definitely a selfish sport. So what's the upside? Why do we do what we do? I mean, if you're not going to make any money, you're never going to amount to shit. What's the point? Just showing off for YouTube, right? Well, that's the way you want to look at it. I mean, what's the point of doing anything? Why do we do anything? Why would you continue to play basketball once you learn that you're not going to be in the NBA? Why would you continue to be a cyclist when you know you're not going to make the Tour de France? Why do we do anything? Why pursue anything if you're not going to be the very best of the best and make a ton of money? Why be a musician if you're not going to be in a rock and roll band that tours the United States? You know what I mean? Like, why do anything? I think it's important. It's super important for somebody to have, you got to have a passion. You got to master something. I think a lot of us are missing a lot of meaning in life, and we don't have anything that we cling to. And to just have that one thing, one thing that you can just say that you put everything you have into it, and this is a big part of who I am. I'm showing the world what I am. Take it or leave it. You don't have to like it, and a lot of people don't. I mean, I get a ration of crap from a lot of people, and you've seen the comments on YouTube. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that don't like what we do, and there's a lot of people that think, I guess, that we're trying to show them up or something. They take it really personal. But that's irrelevant. I don't do what I do for YouTube, and I don't do what I do for money, and I don't do what I do for the awards that I get. I really put a lot of thought into this. Like, if I wasn't as good as I was, would I continue to do the sport? And the answer is yes. So after I compete at Worlds in November, I told my wife I'd take a step back for a while, and I'm not going to train nearly as hard as I was. I'm going to try to maintain what I have for sure. And that's not to say I won't compete again, but I thought about it. Like, even if I decided to absolutely stop competing at a high level, I would still want to throw the singlet on and participate at local meets. Just show up and lift. Some of the best times I ever had were at local meets where it was absolutely new lifters who were terrified, and their totals were terrible. They were under 1,000 pounds. They're not even in the 1,000-pound club, and they're competing in a powerlifting competition, and no chance of winning anything at all. And I'll tell you what, those were some of the most exciting lifts, because to watch somebody, when you see any individual put everything they have into something, and you can tell that they're giving it all. This new kid, he weighed maybe 150 pounds, and he had 405 pounds on the bar in a competition. It was the first time he was going to break 400 pounds. A 400-pound deadlift isn't even a warm-up for most of us. 400 pounds better be a set of 20. And here's this kid and he gets under the bar, and his lift wasn't exactly pretty either. You could tell he was really new at it. He had the basics down. When he went to pull that weight, it was grinding real slow, and he got up to about his knees and started to shake, and the crowd just erupted. They went nuts. Everybody was cheering for him, and he got the lift, and he set it down, and he got white lights, and he started jumping around, and everybody was cheering, and people went up and high-fived him, and it was awesome. Everybody was like, yeah, good job, man. He wasn't even remotely close to winning anything. He wasn't the top of his weight class, but people were just excited to see the effort. He broke a PR. It was a personal thing he was working on. So he achieved his goal, and he got a lot of encouragement. And that's when the little light bulb went off in the top of my head. I said, there's something more to this sport than just picking up heavy things. There's something more to this sport than, being invited to Olympia or lifting, on television or being a sponsored athlete. There's a real community here, and it's nothing but love. And if you haven't experienced that, and YouTube isn't even remotely close. YouTube is toxic. It is a bunch of, infantile egomaniacs that demand attention, and they think that they're entitled to respect, and if you don't give it to them, they act out in the most, it's if a grown man acted like that on my job site, oh man, there's something. I'll tell you what, you know what I'm talking about. You know the behavior. People have these unhinged rants. You could be minding your own business, and if you lift something a little bit heavier than some guy that you're not even paying attention to, you don't even know this guy. You're not watching his videos, but he's watching yours, and you lifted more than him, and it just sets him off. And next thing you know, he's doing unhinged rants about you, and somebody sends you a link, and you watch it, and you're like, oh, what do we got here? What is this about? Now, the powerlifting community is the opposite. They're very come as you are. Nobody cares what you can or can't lift. Sure, they might care because they want to see you do better. They're genuinely interested in your progress, and There's a lot of people that will try to offer you assistance in helping you in your endeavors. But I don't think I've ever met anybody who's ever judged me by a lift. You know, like, how much you bench? 385. Like, is that it? Like that? People don't act like that. They're like, oh, that's awesome. You know, they'll ask you progress through programming, and they take a genuine interest. There's always somebody that lifts more. I mean, every time I get a PR, I immediately see 3 or 4 guys that are warming up with that. And, you know, so it really doesn't matter. I'll never be the best in the world, ever. I might get up on the list. I can maybe make the top 5, top 10 in my weight class, and then you can start like talking about, well, what about over 40 in general, and then that's another list, and then what about all lifters, and that's another lift, and then like who's the greatest of all the lifters despite all weight classes, and you know it's another list. So you know, you can narrow that list down to where you're the top of one tiny sliver of it, and it just keeps expanding. And there's so many hundreds of thousands of lifters across the country. It's like, what are the chances of you being anything significant, except for like the enormous, you know, genetic outliers that are truly the best of the best, the strongest humans that have ever walked this earth. And it, honestly, if that's the metric that you're going by, that you need to be on that list to be successful, those people that are on that list can't even hold those standards. It's like, but you know, hey, that's the opinions people have. You know, if you're not the opposite, if you're not Michael Jordan, you don't play basketball, right? You know, Horace Grant, screw that guy. The thing I notice about powerlifters is a lot of us have similar stories. We all come from some kind of abusive situation or some kind of trauma, and when we get together, we share that trauma, and it becomes like a real family. You could say that there's a lot of cult-like aspects to powerlifting, but it really did become my family. You know, to answer the question, why do I do what I do? I don't know. I don't have a really good, valid answer to justify the amount of abuse that I put my body through, or why I have this insane drive to be the best, knowing that I probably never will be. You know, why? What is it that just keeps me going? Knowing, you know, why? Why do I do all this? And the best answer I could come up with is just love. I love this. I've always loved lifting. I mean, we all have that in common. Everyone in the YouTube community, whether they're the biggest trolls and they give you rations of crap, or they're the most friendly, encouraging person you ever met, the one thing we all have in common is we wrap those hands around that iron and we push it. The difference between those guys and powerlifters is we are part of something that's bigger than ourselves, and it for a lot of people has become an extended family that's really saved their lives. You know, we all come together and we share that trauma. You're going to leave a meet finding a mentor, finding friends for life, people that'll ride or die with you. You'll get tons of numbers. It's brought me all across the country. I've met hundreds of fascinating people. It's changed every single aspect of my life for the better. I'm a different man now than I was before I went up and asked Alan about the shoes he was wearing. That moment in time changed my life forever, and I had no idea the adventure it would bring me along. And that's really the number one thing for me is I'm always looking for adventure. I'm always looking for that thing that brings meaning. A lot of us get it from religion. A lot of us get it from our jobs. A lot of us are rabid sports fans. Some of you might get it from YouTube. For me, it's always been the community of powerlifters, the love of the sport. You know, I might never make a single cent doing this. You know, don't get me wrong. I would absolutely love to be monetized. I would love to open a gym. I would love to take over the state chair position and actually start making money. It would be so awesome if I could stop doing construction and start lifting full time, or in my case, probably, you know, move towards coaching as I'm, you know, getting up there. But I'd love that. Don't think for a second that I don't have ambitions to, like, someday be successful. I'd love to be successful on YouTube, but at the end of the day, if I lost this channel, if I lost all this, and somebody told me if the answer is no, I'm still going to participate in the sport, and I'm still going to be part of the community. If they tell me if I get injured and I can no longer compete at a high level, I'm still going to do partial competitions. I'll do single lifts just to show up and participate. I'll be there cheering on my friends. I'll be there coaching. I'll be there mentoring. In some way, in some capacity, I will always be part of this sport. This sport has given so much to me, and I would like to give it back. And I want to be an ambassador for the sport, and I want to get as many of you guys involved as I can. And to answer the nihilistic guys that think that life has no meaning, proceeds from nothing, goes nowhere, what's the point? I feel bad for you, because you could really pretty much assign that to just about anything in life. Why do we do what we do? Why do we do anything? Why do we wake up in the morning? Why don't you just kill yourself? No, that's not being hyperbolic. I'm not saying you should do that. Please, if you really have thoughts of harm, please call somebody. Suicide's a super big deal. The point is like, if nothing has any meaning and there's no point in doing anything, why are we still here? I don't have the answers to all that. I don't know. I'm just a dumb meathead that likes to pick heavy things up. But I know I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can, and I hope that you guys come with me. Steel sharpens steel, baby. Let's make each other better.